Toy Spot, we are having a look at the DC Collectibles Batman the Animated Series number 15, the Penguin. Somewhat ironic that the number 15 Penguin also has 15 pieces inside. I don't know why it says 15 pieces. I don't actually see 15 pieces inside, but I guess you factor in the different hands, the stand. Yeah, that could probably give you 15. On the back of the package, absolutely nothing. Once again, no read-up, no other characters in this set, but that's okay. This, if they've saved on this to give us more figures, I'm absolutely fine with that. I really was looking forward to actually getting Penguin. He goes very well with the Joker, Two-Face, and Mr. Freeze that we've already gotten. And of course, DC Collectibles continues to release more and more of the animated figures. That being said, Spot's going to take a break. I'm going to get this opened up, and when we come back, we're going to get a better look at the DC Collectibles Batman the Animated Series number 15, the Penguin. There's more heading your way, guys. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. With Penguin, there's a fair bit to touch base on. Let's go ahead and start first with the little pamphlets that we get included with the figure. With the figure, it shows you the different ways to display it. Also gives you some indication of some of the other figures too. There's classic Riddler. There's the original animated series Batman, Penguin, and Batgirl. Put that to the side. You also get a second brochure. And this is where we start getting really exciting. You have Batman as figure number 13. You have classic Riddler, the Penguin, Batgirl. Roxy Rocket kind of is up there with Creeper. I'm not complaining, no, not at all. I'm not complaining that we actually are getting Roxy Rocket, but that's really cool that DC Collectibles is going as far as they are with something like that. You know, maybe we'll get like the likes of Grey Ghost, you know, some of the more obscure figures. That'd be kind of cool. Nightwing also is there, Bane. And I'm hoping we still get a classic Bane too, not just New Adventures Bane. I love New Adventures Bane. Don't kid, obviously don't mistake that Spot's not thrilled by a new Bane, but classic Bane I hope we get to. Scarecrow and Mad Hatter, and let's not also forget the very, very cool Batmobile. Looking forward to getting that as well. Anything on the backside? Just Batman the Animated Series and the new Batman Adventures. Let's go ahead and fold this up. I always like holding on to these. We'll just put that to the side. Okay, so Penguin, why don't we have a look at his display stand first. Like the other treatments, we get the Penguin turnaround display stand. Shows you the front and the partial back of what Penguin would look like as a character model. I have the Batman Bible, and it has character turnarounds of what the characters look like. And I think this is pretty much verbatim to what the turnarounds look like in that book. It has a little section to peg in the rod. Now, when you peg it in, we've seen this before, it's not circle. It's almost like a 3/4 circle. So you got to make sure you peg it in the right way. If you start fighting with it, stop. Stop what you're doing and assess the situation. Realize that you might have it going the wrong way. This sits in the top. Just like so. It's a little harder, a little tighter of a fit, but you've got the display stand. This adjusts easy enough. This also slides back and forth. I mentioned this with other videos too. I don't feel as if it needed as much excess, if you know what I mean. I don't feel like it needed to be as long. It could have easily been that length because the figure will likely stand further back. I don't see why it would be as far forward unless you have it maybe in a dynamic pose. Penguin definitely is not going to be a figure you're going to have in any sort of dynamic poses unless, be it for maybe him displayed with his umbrella. Put that to the side. And then of course we've got some accessories. We've got some interchangeable hands. He's got hands for holding things. He's got flat open flippers. And another holding hand. The funny thing about Penguin, and I don't know if maybe it's just my particular figure, getting it out of packaging, I realized the hand was spun the wrong way. So of course, as any collector would do, I would go to spin the hand back, and I realized they put two of the same hand on the figure. I'm not devastated. I certainly will not lose sleep over this because really at the end of the day, these are both closed fists. I would want to have Penguin, if anything, holding something. So I'm not devastated by the fact he's got two of the same hands, but just kind of found that funny that quality control, you would have two of the exact same hand. Other accessories before we look at Penguin. Let's get in the stand here. Other accessories he includes is a closed umbrella. Cast in, well, my guess is cast in a black plastic and then the gray paint there. A little bit of silver on the end for accent. A little bit of panel lining just to indicate how the umbrella would fold up. I like that. And then you've got pretty much the equivalent of this umbrella opened up, although the tip is a little bit different. I'm surprised that they went with such a pointy tip for the opened umbrella, while the closed umbrella has more of a broader tip, as you can see there. Here's what it looks like on the underside, and there's also the handle. You just clip that into place, and you've got an open umbrella for the Penguin. It almost looks more like a disc than it does an umbrella. Sharp tips on the end. I worry about this. Like, I will display this figure right now, but as any collector goes, eventually you're going to want to package it away. I worry that maybe this tip, if it hits something or you put it inside a tote with other figures, I worry that this might break off. So be warned, fair be warned. Kind of in that scope of why are they including this, Penguin also gets a teacup as well as a spoon. I'm not criticizing the decision making here as to why they would have given him this, but I just feel like of all the other things that you could give Penguin, I guess maybe they want to think of, like Joker, they want to think of small accessories as well as big accessories. Joker, I felt like, you know what, you could have given him a laughing fish, you could have given him some other stuff. I guess I'm not overly bothered by the fact that you get only a mug with a spoon. You know, I guess for his tea drinking, it just seems odd that they would have included this. And putting that aside, now let's have a look at Penguin. You can read numerous commentaries. You can actually listen to many commentaries too. And Bruce Timm and his team were not thrilled at all with this design of Penguin. It coincided with the release of Batman Returns. Warner Brothers wanted to keep Penguin that very penguin-like look as Danny DeVito portrayed in the Batman Returns movie. So ultimately, Bruce Timm was kind of voluntold, so to speak, to keep Penguin roughly around that same look. More penguin than man. So again, that carried over, and that's what we got with the original animated series treatment. With the New Adventures of Batman, it allowed Bruce Timm to kind of branch out and his team to design characters a little bit more to what they wanted to initially, or as the series progressed, what they thought was a better, more streamlined look to the characters. That's why characters such as Poison Ivy turned a little less from being like the old 40s and 50s Bombshell to more a sleeker, green, off-green skinned character. Bane got a little more nastier looking. Scarecrow got a little scarier looking. And Penguin, as it being more of a short, robust, round fellow that looked like a penguin, he looked a little bit more like a businessman like they initially had wanted to conceive him as. For the figure size, he is much shorter than, let's say, we got a couple of figures here I can bring in as an example. We've got Robin. Of course, he's taller than Penguin. And we've also got the Creeper, who is a lot taller. I don't actually have Joker here. I've got him packed away. I really wanted to have him out as a display comparison. But you can see how, like, even against Creeper, how much taller Creeper is versus the shorter Penguin. I don't know if I'm the only one that has this, but I find like the knees are getting a little loose on these figures. Maybe it's just mine, but so there's Robin. I do love the look of Penguin as his more classic look. In fact, he's one of the few figures from the few characters from the cartoon that I think I enjoy the original incarnation of him rather than how he ended up looking. The other one is the good example is Joker. Couldn't stand the way the Joker looked in the New Adventures of Batman. I I liked the way he looked in the original animated series much better. I didn't like the black eyes with little white dots for eyes. Didn't like that. So Penguin, let's go ahead and pop out. Let's pop out the hand that is the incorrect hand. I might say as well, these little pegs are very, very small and very thin. So when you put them in, just be a little cautious, just be a little concerned, be a little aware that, of course, you're going to want to be careful with these. Let's go ahead and take the closed umbrella. I think I might display Penguin with a more closed umbrella look than I will of the open umbrella. And I find it's a little easier, actually, with the umbrella to get it in his hand first. Oh, and I broke it. I knew I was going to break it. I was going to say the handle of Penguin's umbrella is very, you have to get it forced in between the fingers. I knew that was going to happen. I'll just glue it. I'm just going to take a little bit of glue and glue it closed. But that's the downside to these figures, is that the accessories are very solid plastic. And even in a solid plastic, in a sense that when you're putting them in, there's no give to these whatsoever. Again, I want to try to put the umbrella in. I feel like I'm going to do the exact same thing. Just be very careful, guys, when you're putting these umbrellas or really any accessory into these figures' hands. Just be really careful. Because again, there's a little bit of give, but not enough that that's going to hold if you start fighting with it. And I'm not going to try to just wedge it into his hand, but the culprit is, see right there, the way his fingers are weirdly posed. His bottom flipper is much bigger than the top, and that almost obstructs getting accessories into his hand. That's why I ended up breaking the first umbrella, because I had to try to get it around that larger flipper. Oh, that's a shame. But again, it's nothing that a little bit of glue. At least it broke in an area where it's gluable. But yeah, you gotta have to fit it around the hand. And there's really no other hands that fit. Again, like this hand here, which is change out the other hand here. Pop this out. I hate breaking stuff in reviews. It doesn't happen too often, but when it does, it's always heartbreaking. See, the same problem here is trying to get it around the fingers, and the idea, the notion that you want to do, you want to by nature force, kind of wedge the hand around the fingers, but that's what ends up breaking it. And even then, like, the umbrella doesn't stay in his hand very well. As you can see, it just kind of slides down there. Unless you kind of hook the handle underneath his hand, you can get something like that, but see, it doesn't really sit, it just sits loose. So that's a shame. Let's go ahead and take this out before Spot breaks this one. We'll just put that to the side. When it comes to Penguin's articulation, his head is on a ball joint, and yes, it is on a ball joint, which is good. Be careful when you're moving the head though, because the monocle, you don't want to bump that and knock that off. That's the last thing I need to do. Shoulders hinge out. It is also to note that the jacket is a soft rubber, like a soft rubbery plastic. You can't take it off or anything like that, but it's nice that they would have done that as opposed to just being plastic here. The arms seem to only rotate. There's no hinge on the elbow, probably just because of the way his jacket is. The hands rotate, but as you see, when you rotate the hand, it just slides around a bit in that ball socket. So be a little careful with that. The waist, from what I can see, the waist does not move. Doesn't look like there's actually a swivel in the waist. However, the legs, as you would probably expect them to be, very large, and they basically just sit on the inside. The inside of his waist, they're basically pegged into that, and they just slide back and forth. Not by a lot, though. And then you've got just a little bit of ball joint in his legs. So Penguin, you're really not going to get much out of him from the sense of posability, but at least you get a pretty good looking figure. I'm happy with the figure, but I feel like there's just like little hiccups here and there. I kind of wish he held his umbrella a little bit better. I certainly wish I didn't break the umbrella handle, but again, I'll just put a little bit of glue on that. It'll be as good as new. The figure's not bad. It has a few hiccups here and there, but At the end of the day, it's one of those figures where what you expected a penguin to end up being is pretty much what you got. It's a short, larger figure. He doesn't have a lot of accessories. I kind of wish his hands were just a little bit better, a little easier to hold stuff. And I wish they could have found a better way to kind of put his accessories in his hand. Even if they had done something like Robin, where Robin had a pre-molded hand that had the grapple gun in hand. I wish they could have almost done that with Penguin here. Maybe had a molded hand that already had the handle, and then what you could have done is just swapped out the closed umbrella, the open umbrella, and maybe given us a couple of different versions of the umbrella tops. Is it a good figure? Yeah, it's not bad. Hiccups aside, it's still a good solid entry again by DC Collectibles. Just again, be a little careful when you start putting things such as umbrellas in his hand that you don't break it like Butterfingers did. Today's Toy Spot, we were looking at the DC Collectibles Batman the Animated Series, number 15, Classic Penguin. Stay tuned, guys. Spot's going to have more Toy Spots heading your way. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.